Leah Sarich joining us this morning, our health specialist. We're talking about bipolar disorder. It affects 1 to 2% of the population. So that's up to 20,000 people here in the city of Calgary. 70% of cases, though, go misdiagnosed. New research happening in our city that you want to highlight this morning.
Exactly. This is one of those cases where we have that really exciting research in Calgary that could really make a difference in the mental health field, not only here, but right across the country and right across the world. So this is really, really exciting research. So, and they just got a big, huge grant to move forward with this. So this is really exciting. So bipolar disorder is one of the top 10 disorders that leads to the greatest number of years lost to disability. So it's a huge problem for the community we live in, for sure. Bipolar disorder is characterized by two poles, of course, right? So you've got the one side, which is the mania. So in this case, people, they have hyperactivity, they're excessively talking, they suffer from grandiosity, which is like, oh, you know, I'm best friends with Brad Pitt, but I've actually never met them. Or, oh, I'm going to go and win at the lottery when really I'm just blowing my retirement savings, that kind of thing. The other end of it then is depression. So they feel sadness, they're not enjoying things they used to enjoy, and they've got sleep problems and eating problems. So that's sort of the other side of it. Usually misdiagnosed, as you said, in 70% of the cases, and a third of the people do not get a correct diagnosis for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
For 10 years.
That's terrible.
It's terrible. So they're living with this disability for a very, very long time. And of course, that has very wide implications right across the board throughout the community. So what they want to do is try to figure out a better way to come up with a diagnosis. And this means coming up with identifiable markers. So for example, if you have type 2 diabetes, you're going to go get your blood sugars checked.
Yeah, your blood glucose test, right?
That's right. So if it's high, you probably have type 2 diabetes. If you're going to go get your heart checked, if you've got heart disease, for example, they'll check your cholesterol, they'll check your high blood pressure. And if those are some good markers, they don't have that in psychiatric medicine just yet. So these researchers are hoping to find them.
We're going to look at two different types of markers. We're going to look at markers in the brain, so we're going to do neuroimaging, and we're going to try to see how the brains of people with bipolar disorder differ from controls and what separates them the maximum amount, so we can use those potentially at markers. And then, because neuroimaging is so expensive and it's not available everywhere, like at rural sites, and we know these disorders occur everywhere, we're also going to be taking the blood from people, and we're going to try to correlate. So, like, do the blood markers relate to the brain markers, so they could be a proxy measure for that. But on the other hand, we can also see if the blood markers can differentiate the different disorders and be another type of marker that could be routinely used.
Imagine if they find that out.
Isn't that incredible?
That would be amazing.
So that you can say, okay, does this person have bipolar disorder? Does this person have schizophrenia? So that kind of thing. It's very exciting. And then they can also use the markers to figure out if their treatments are working. So, for example, if you've got type 2 diabetes again, your glucose numbers are going to come down. Yeah, you can track it. So that's great. So then they also want to make connections. So they want to figure out, okay, so if they've got really high markers in the brain and in the blood, does that mean that they've got really severe disease? Is that really affecting their behavior?
It's like a stronger case of it. Okay,
Exactly.
I see.
So there's all kinds of reasons to develop these markers. And then, of course, once you've got a really clear diagnosis, that can lead to success with better treatments, which of course means better outcomes for patients.
The other thing about biomarkers is it helps you with diagnosis, right? So there's a threshold, like I would go in, if I had being tested for type 2 diabetes, they would take some blood, they'd be like, you're above that threshold, but then they could actually use that to monitor me over time, like, is that level going down as we do different treatments? And then it can also help in developing treatments, right? So if we know with our neuroimaging markers that certain brain regions are implicated and we're working on pharmacology, maybe we want our pharmacology to target those brain regions and those areas.
So again, if you've got targeted treatment, then you're also helping to reduce side effects in these patients. Because when are these people diagnosed? In their late adolescence and early 20s. And of course, these antipsychotic medications and antidepressant medications often have big side effects that a lot of these people don't like to tolerate. Exactly. Very, very strong medications. So then you end up with these young people not taking their medications because they don't want to feel that way. But then you're back at square one. So it's really a problem. So this research could really help the patients, lead to better research, better diagnosis, and of course, better treatments. And then, of course, all kinds of mental disorders could be diagnosed with this as well.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed
that
it
they're
works.
successful.
This is the first step. Yeah.
All the information on your blog.
All on my blog, you bet.
All right, breakfasttelevision.ca.